All right, the Yankees have made their addition to the rotation. We thought this might happen for some time. There was some talk about it during this winter, but the lockout kind of precluded the A's from making all of the moves that they wanted to make. They decided to hang on to Frankie Montas until the trade deadline, and today they unloaded him to the Yankees. He's got a good slider, got a good fastball, can get it up there around 97, 98 miles an hour. He's got a good changeup just below 90 miles an hour with good sink. He'll throw it to both righties and lefties. He's not going to be afraid, and I think he's going to fit right in with the Yankees. We're going to break down what the Yankees gave up to get him and get your reactions coming up next. Buddy. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? So the trade deadline is quickly approaching, and today the Yankees have made two moves. We mentioned in a short video earlier, Scott Efros coming to the Yankees from the Cubs. I think he's low-key going to be a great pickup. He's got great StatCast metrics. He's got 5 years of control. And, you know, Hayden Wesneski is a good prospect to trade. But, Efros can help you win this year. And just now, we learned about the trade between the Yankees and the A's. Frankie Montas headed to the Yankees along with right-handed pitcher Lou Trivino, not having a great year, Trivino, and then headed back to the A's. Headed back to the A's. J.P. Sears, we've seen a little bit of him this year, good left-handed starting pitcher. Ken Waldichuk, that one hurts for me. He is a solid prospect. Pitched in the Futures game. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Scott Kazmir, the way he delivers the ball. Luis Medina, who essentially has Nolan Ryan type stuff, but doesn't have great command. He's been a big prospect in the Yankee system for the last couple of years. And Cooper Bowman, who is a minor league second baseman. I don't know much about him. Now, Frankie Montas is a phenomenal pitcher. The StatCast metrics don't love him. We'll take a look real quick at the StatCast metrics for Frankie Montas and Lou Trivino. You'll see with these that one thing the Yankees love is chase rate. They like guys who will swing and miss. Laurie C. brings up the point that he is not good on the road, but hopefully the Yankees can get him under the tutelage of Matt Blake and unlock even more potential. He's a big guy. He's 6'2", 255 pounds. He's just 29 years old. You see, the average exit velocity isn't great. The hard hit percentage is about average. Where he shines is chase rate. 88th percentile, whiff percentage 68th percentile, strikeout percentage 70th percentile. He's got a lot of spin on the fastball, and he throws very hard. Average mile per hour on his fastball is 96. He throws a changeup, a slider, and a cutter. He throws the fastball most of the time, changeup about a quarter of the time, and then the slider and the cutter the rest of the time. So I think he's a nice pickup, obviously, going to help your rotation. I don't think the Yankees would have gone out and gotten him unless Luis Severino had gotten hurt, because Severino was pitching so well. It looked like he was fully back. But now, him being a questionable candidate for the rotation with the injury coming back, and then, the deterioration, basically, of Jameson Taillon, the Yankees needed some help in the rotation, and they got it. Let's take a look at Lou Trivino, because his numbers are strange. He's got great strikeout numbers, 84th percentile in strikeout percentage. Chase rate is great. Fastball velocity also in the 72nd percentile. Another guy with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Another big reliever, 6'5", 235 pounds. But you see, not having a good year. 6.47 ERA. He's 1-6. 32 innings, 45 strikeouts, but the whip, 1.88. So not fantastic. Let's look at his standard stats, because I feel like he's had some better years before this. He was 7-8 last year, but as a reliever, you don't want to think too much about win-loss. He pitched in a lot of games, appeared in 71 games. And Efros has pitched in a lot of games this year. So one thing it seems like the Yankees are prioritizing is guys who are durable. And 22 saves last year for Trivino. It's Trivino. I keep saying Trivino because that's the Yankees catcher. That's going to be a tough one. All right, let's get to your comments, SD36 says Cashman is a fool. I don't know. I do think this was probably a slight overpay, but we held on to Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe, and we still have those guys. If we really want to roll the dice and go after a Juan Soto, but I doubt that's going to happen because they already picked up Benintendi. Richard K says, way to be in on this. Appreciate that. Thank you for being here. Jonathan Taylor says, about time the Yankees made a big move that was needed. Frankie Montas really fits the Yankees profile because, he's just an intimidating guy out there on the mound. And they've always liked those, quote, big, hairy monsters, not only on the offensive side, but on the pitching side. They traded for Michael Pineda, big, strong guy with a powerful fastball in hopes that he would, become a dominant pitcher. Frankie Montas, not quite as big. He's 6'2", but he's 250, and he throws hard. That can be intimidating. Wampbag Doodle says, Montas better be great because we have to give up Waldichuk and Sears. I'm really not thrilled about having to give up Waldichuk. Sears has also been pretty good. I mean, both of these guys have been impressive. We haven't gotten to see Waldichuk at the big league level yet. My guess is he'll be up soon with the Oakland A's because, they're not going to win anytime soon. Why not let the guy come up and, get used to it at the big league level? He's pitching at AAA right now. He's probably ready. Another guy I think that you might see at the big league level soon is Hayden Wesneski, who the Yankees traded to the Cubs. I think both of these guys could step into major league rotations right now. Luis Medina, I feel like, is a wild card because, like we said, he's got that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's got a Dwight Gooden curveball. But the problem has always been throwing strikes, and the Yankees like their guys to throw strikes. Wampag says, go get Rondon now. I don't think that's going to happen.
Just a bit outside.
I don't think that they're going to try and get two starting pitchers, but it's possible. Ben Green with a great take says Yankees are trying to shorten the game. That's absolutely correct.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Alex Valerio says time to get hitters away with JD and Gallo. Yeah, he wants to get rid of Gallo. He wants to get rid of Josh Donaldson. Apparently JD Martinez might get traded too. I got him on the mind. So I don't think they're going to get rid of Donaldson. One, because he makes a lot of money, and two, because he plays great defense still. And the combination of him and DJ over there at third base has been, tough to beat defensively. As far as Gallo goes, Joel Sherman tweeted a couple of hours ago that it's 100% that he's going to get traded before tomorrow's deadline. Whitney Reynolds says, surprised they did not get rid of Peraza. I want to give Brian Cashman a round of applause on that. Frankie Montas, 3.18 ERA on the season, more than a strikeout per inning. 104 2/3 innings, 109 strikeouts, 28 walks, 1.137 whip. He is 29 years old. He will turn 30 next March. 1.7 WAR on the season. Really looking forward to seeing what he can add to the Yankees. Shane Johnson says Cash Money got 3 studs without Volpe, JD, or Peraza. JD here referencing Jason Dominguez, the Martian. All right. Let's see here. Mike says, this is a decent pickup. Yeah, I think that they must see something in Trivino, aside from the, obviously the ERA is bad. But the fact that he's still got a really good strikeout percentage and a good chase rate, good whiff percentage, his average exit velocity is pretty good, tells me he's probably been unlucky. Hard hit percentage is only in the 16th percentile, though, so maybe he has gotten hit hard from time to time. This might be one of those guys who gets energized by coming to a playoff race, a pennant race. Relief pitchers are a different type of animal, right? You know how, some guys only like to pitch in the 8th inning or only like to pitch in the 9th inning. Some guys have trouble pitching in a relief capacity when your team is out of it. Some guys, these guys are like bulls in a china shop. They're just overflowing with energy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Trivino really turns it around. Seacaster08 says, does this mean we are out on Juan Soto? I think we are out on Juan Soto. Last I read was that the Padres and the Dodgers are 100% fighting it out for Soto and that nobody else is really going to be a factor. But, you never know. As I had what's his name, Sweeney Murdy, on the podcast about 6 months ago, and I asked him the same question. I said, "Does this mean the Yankees are out on so and so?" And he said, "Look, in 2004, it shocked everybody when Alex Rodriguez walked through the door, right? The Yankees are never out on anybody. 2009, Mark Teixeira was a surprise get. The Yankees had gone out and gotten CC Sabathia. Everybody thought that was going to be their big move that winter. They traded for Nick Swisher. They signed AJ Burnett. And everybody figured, the Yankees are probably kind of maxed out. And then they go out on, I think it was December 22nd, and they signed Mark Teixeira, who was about to sign with the Boston Red Sox. So, I mean, it's you can never count the Yankees out. They're a team that likes to strike. And I doubt that they're still in on Soto. But it would not shock me really that much if they came from out of nowhere and got him, especially since they were able to hold on to Peraza, Volpe, Dominguez, hang on to all of these pieces. And now what Brian Cashman has done, and I contend that Brian Cashman's actually having a pretty good trade deadline. What he has now is a handful of cards that he can either hang on to and hope they become something, or he can, go all in and try and get a Soto or try and get one other player. Somebody mentioned Rondon. I think he's getting near the end of the line in terms of his effectiveness because of how many innings he's thrown this year. So I think Montas might have been the move. Hudson Valley Dude says, getting Benintendi means that we were out on Soto. I agree. I mean, it seems like that was the move. But I'll remind you, we still have Gallo and Hicks on the roster, and I'm not 100% certain that the Yankees are confident in both of those guys. You could slide Judge back over to center field and put Soto in right field if you got rid of Hicks. So we know Gallo's going to get moved. AJC says, why didn't we offer Trey Sweeney? I don't know. I wasn't in the room. But, he's a first-round draft pick. My guess is they want to keep him. Aiden says, when is Montas going to pitch? Hasn't been announced yet, but hopefully in the next couple of days. We'll see. Matt Sheridan says, Soto most likely going to the Dodgers, and I agree on that one.
Absolutely. Hey.
I think that they're the team with the most prospect capital, the most financial backing, and they want to win a World Series. I mean, look, they won a World Series in 2020, but that was kind of the COVID World Series, and around baseball, there's kind of that feeling like, well, it doesn't really count like a real World Series. So, hey, it's gonna be interesting the next 24 hours to see where this goes. Sean Fanning says, who's the Yankees' big pitching prospects now? That's a good question. That's a really good question. So, you would count on Sears, Waldichuk, and Wisniewski being the big three that could have come up this season, but it looks like all three of those guys now are gone. So, I mean, they still have Domingo Germán, who's starting tonight, he wasn't originally part of the 5-man rotation this year. Clark Schmidt was drafted as a starter. He's been pitching more in relief lately. I think you could probably start him. Davy Garcia recently came back and pitched really well in his AAA debut. I want to say he was touching 97, 98 with the fastball, which he hasn't done for years, and he was throwing strikes. So he might be somebody to keep back on the radar. And Montas, you do have him for next season. So, as Marcus Killigrew says, it's not a rental. I like it. Robert Linares says, bring up Peraza. That would be nice to see. I'll tell you what. IKF has been pretty much what we expected as a stopgap. Gets his hits. Occasionally will make the nice play. But I think that we could have probably gotten just as much, if not more, out of Peraza just because of the offensive upside. He's got more power, and supposedly he's a fantastic defensive player. So it wouldn't shock me if Peraza ends up playing shortstop for the Yankees in the next few days. Ben K says, who's going to take Joey? I don't know, man. It sounds like the Padres were interested. They're interested in everybody. Apparently, the Yankees were shopping him to the Brewers. Mariners, maybe. Texas could still be interested. We'll see. It's a shame because he's pretty much ruined his career over the last season with the Yankees. We got another Super Dono says, Wes Niles says, don't we have more pitching prospects? So I don't have the prospect list in front of me, but we don't have a lot of pitching prospects that are that close comparatively. So Sean Fanning says, I hope Montas isn't like Sonny Gray and can't pitch in New York. Sonny Gray just seemed like he was mentally weak. He had that Joey Gallo syndrome. Montas doesn't give me those vibes. Montas seems like he's in there to play hardball. But I'm excited about this. We've got a game tonight against the Mariners. I'm sure we'll get more information from Michael Kay, from the team in the booth, Meredith Marakovich, all those people, about when Montas is coming. We'll probably have an interview with Brian Cashman if he's not too busy. I'd rather, save the interview with Brian Cashman for Wednesday. Stay busy. Keep working the phones. If we see him talking, that means he's probably done or thinks he's done. Until Soto goes off the board, I still don't think the Yankees are 100% out of it because, the Yankees have done some crazy stuff. Nobody expected Giancarlo Stanton to come to the Yankees after 2017. It was not even on the radar. But we somehow kept our top prospects and still got Montas, Efros, Benintendi. Sean Browning says Montas could be like David Wells and Messina. I think probably more along the lines of, I'm trying to think of a comparable pitcher, maybe like a Clemens type, just a serious, intimidating kind of pitcher is where I would put him. Wells was more just like crafty. He was good. And Messina was precise. He was a nerd out there. He was closer to Garrett Cole in terms of personality. But Montas, one of those guys who'll go right after you with his fastball. High says, we only got Stanton because of Jeter. I disagree.
It doesn't work that way.
We got Stanton because they wanted to tear it down and they didn't want to tie up all that money. I don't think it necessarily had anything to do with Derek Jeter. Martine says, do you think that with these moves we can beat the Astros in the playoffs? I already thought the Yankees could beat the Astros in the playoffs. The question is whether they would beat the Astros in the playoffs. Maria says, should we just sign Babe Ruth? It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
He's a little cold right now. For his last 100 years. So, the Stros, it sounds like, just got Trey Mancini. And he's a guy who's hit the Yankees hard in the past. So, they're not going to stop trying to get better. Wouldn't surprise me if they went out and got somebody big like a Rondon or even a Soto or a Happ. They could use a little bit more offense, and any pitchers they seem to pick up tend to play really well. Leroy says, if we did get Soto, it'd be the best deadline in the history for any team. It all depends on who's the last team standing. If you go out in the first round, it doesn't matter. I will be back after the game tonight. Stay tuned for that. Yankees game night coming up in about 3 or 4 hours. Please like and subscribe. And big news, in case you missed it, NYY Recaps is coming to all podcast platforms. Right now, the podcast is called The Freeze. It's the audio version of the podcast, but it's been picked up by Blue Wire Podcasts. And in the next few days, we're going to have available NYY Recaps, all the audio from this channel on every audio platform. Kendall Wiggins says, spot on, Cole is a nerd just like Messina. All right, guys, we'll see you later.